All right, I'm way east in Venice this evening. Beautiful evening, perfect temperature. The full moon is rising just over there. And I'm going to tell you about Arcangela Tarabotti. So Arcangela lived in the early 1600s, and she was one of a number of sisters. What happened in many families at that time, the family would have enough money for a dowry for one of the daughters to marry, but usually couldn't afford for all of them to marry. And Arcangela had what they called a club foot, so they sort of assumed that she would never find a husband. And so she was put into a convent, this convent right here, which is, we're looking at the church of Sant'Anna, and then along that side used to be a wall with a garden and the cloisters where all of the nuns lived. So she first entered it when she was 11 and then took her orders when she was, I think, 16, and lived her entire life behind those walls. Well, the sad thing was she didn't really have a religious calling. Now, she was a devout Catholic, she had religious feeling, but she didn't have that true calling that she saw some of her sisters, the other nuns, have. And it really weighed on her. In fact, it made her extremely angry. She got a basic education from the other nuns, and then she wanted even more education, and she found a patron, actually a few different men on the outside world who were part of the literary salons and the academies. And so they would bring her literature, they would bring her things to read, and she educated herself. And then to deal with her anger, she started writing about this, what she called paternal tyranny, about this forced claustration and forcing girls into convents. So her writings practically leap into fire. I mean, she just is so angry and it comes right off the page. And she wrote a number of things like this. Got some support for them, had, like I said, some patrons who helped her. But then, of course, any woman who was writing in the 1600s would also be attacked. They would question her intelligence. They would question if she was actually able to write the books she wrote and things like that. And eventually she wrote one piece when she was older that sounds so bitter, and she just really advises everybody to not be educated, to not write, to not share their thoughts, that women should just stay silent. And it's kind of heartbreaking because you imagine that this is from her bitterness from how she's been treated much of her life. So if you're ever in the area of Castello and you're passing the church of Sant'Anna, you can think of Arcangela Tarabotti and the other nuns who lived there their whole lives behind those walls.